Before we start, I wanted to thank you, the viewers, for helping us pass 500 subscribers on the Alley Oop. I'm enjoying talking about every team in the NBA with our correspondents, and I want to keep it going. If you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. Over 95% of viewers on this channel are not subscribed, and it would mean the absolute world if you did. It's free, and it's the best possible way to support this independent channel. Anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy the video. All right, joined now by David Brandon of Daily Thunder. He's a OKC correspondent for the Alley Oop. Really appreciate you stopping by, David. This has got to be just a really, really fun season to watch from your perspective, right?
Yeah, it's been really fun. I mean, we were just talking about this before the call, but the win total that I expected out of the season was low 40s, and we're already at 33. It's been a significant overperformance.
It's awesome.
What I expected.
No, of course. Like, we're projecting low 40s, mid 40s kind of wins. Like, hey, maybe this is a little bit too early for the team to really break out. But lo and behold, the Thunder are on pace for 56 wins. They're basically top 5 in every single category. Cleaning the Glass has them at 3rd in net rating, 5th in offense, 3rd in defense. Like, that's the profile you want for a championship contender. It's just insane that we're already there. At least from a statistical standpoint, for sure. I wanted to kick this thing off by giving props to Mark Daigneault and Sam Presti. Like, this is the best coach-GM combo in the league, and I don't really think it's close.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can give props to who's Miami GM? Who's the GM in Miami again?
Oh well, so they've got.
I was thinking of Riley, but it's not. Riley's not actually the GM.
Yeah, it's Mickey Harrison's the owner, but like, gosh, it's the guy who's the cap guru too. Jeez, that's my NBA knowledge is lacking
Ellsberg.
Here.
It's Ellsberg and
Andy
Spoelstra.
Ellsberg. That's right.
Like I'd give props to them too. That's a very good combo as well. But yeah, I think Oklahoma City's up there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They have absolutely earned that title. Daigneault is probably, like, he would be my favorite to win Coach of the Year, certainly here. Sam Presti obviously has had credit over the course of decades now in terms of what he's brought to OKC. And it all starts with SGA, man. Like, serious MVP case for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Tell me, how has he gotten here to this point, and what do you think he can do to win the award for OKC?
Just steady improvement over the years. I mean, he came in, you remember the Clippers series, his rookie year, where he showed out, even as a rookie, and he wasn't what he is now by any means, but just over the years, it seems like he's just added a little something to his game each year, and then just gotten a little bit more efficient, a little bit more, sneaky around the basket, a little bit better at shooting from outside, a little bit better at drawing fouls. And right now, he was great last year. This year, he's on a level that is amazing to see. I mean, and even just his game is fun to watch. He's a guy who's he gets to places. DeMar DeRozan is the first guy that I remember watching where I had this thought. It's he just goes where he wants to go. He's just, okay, this is the spot that I'm good at. I'm going to go there. And you're not going to stop me. That's something that very few guys, I think, have that gift. I mean, DDR is not a, top tier player, but he's one of those guys that kind of goes to his spots on the floor, and Shai is that guy too. It's I'm going to get there. That's it.
And he's got so many different spots on the floor where he excels. The step back mid-range jumper it's become automatic in so many ways. Against Denver, he made these step back threes that were just backbreakers for the Nuggets down the stretch in that game. And then he gets to the free throw line. He has these creative finishes around the rim. That's exactly what you want a star to do. And he draws so much attention that it benefits the rest of the roster tremendously. So, Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren, those guys are, man, it feels like they're legitimately forming another internal big three. It really does to me, because J-Dub is now, he's 25th in EPM. Chet's fallen to 28th, but he's a rookie. It's understandable. Nobody's going to hold that against him. And like, it just feels like this is the beginning stages of what we just witnessed at OKC.
It's such a weird feeling to be watching this right now and being like, we saw this happen. We
Right.
already saw this happen. You know? Like, and it's not exactly the same, you know, like you didn't, like Chet's obviously a little older, you know, than the other, you know, than the original big three was kind of all around the same age. But it is just it's a weird feeling to be like, I just started reading the book Boomtown, Sam Anderson's book about Oklahoma City, which is great if no one's read it. And he goes through and talks about those early days of the Thunder, and I'm just looking at it and reading it, and I'm like, man, the same thing's happening. You know?
It's the energy, man. Like, it's the young energy, and everybody's excited for each other, and you feed off of each other's skill sets and like just young competitive nature. And these guys they're all pulling the same direction. You see it every post game when they win.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's also just like the pieces fit together. I mean, from GM all the way down to, you know, the last guy off the bench, you know, these guys seem to really fit together as a cohesive unit. I mean, could you improve the team? Yeah. But where they're at right now, like everybody's pulling together, everything's working, you know.
It's an extremely well assembled group. And like I said, Sam Presti, Mark Daigneault, they deserve a ton of credit for employing those guys in the way that they're supposed to be employed, for sure. Lou Dort's going to connect all these different lineups too. There's so many different reasons to be excited about where OKC is going, and like it doesn't always have to come back to like championship ceiling or championship upside. That's there, but the runway is so long for this group now, and like I know that there are probably some lessons that can be learned from the previous iteration where it may never be as long as you hope it can be, and that's one of the early sells for the Durant, Russ, Harden, Thunder, of course. But just how long do you guys think the internal kind of runway is for this group?
I think the little tiny bit that I've heard out of OKC, because no one ever hears anything out of OKC, is that they definitely are ahead of schedule of where they thought they'd be. So maybe they might grab a guy. But it's not like they're not gonna like. You remember the Pelicans when they drafted Anthony Davis. And they really tried to accelerate the timeline. I mean, they're not the only ones, but they're the one that comes to mind most quickly. It's like a lot of teams have tried to shortcut the timeline, and it's never really worked out well. So I think they're banking on mostly internal growth and maybe adding a guy or two. But yeah, that's kind of where I think they're at with it.
I remember back to those New Orleans teams where I think Dell Demps was the GM for much of that time, making these decisions and doing the thing where you spend the future draft capital and all the first round picks, and you bring in these veterans that you try to, like Ryan Andersons of the world, and obviously they got Drew Holiday, and that was a big one, but DeMarcus Cousins was another one, and like those guys don't sustain, and it's never. You want to develop a foundation, and Anthony Davis is a really strong foundation. There was never any doubt about that. But with OKC, I see the foundation here, and it's solid. Yeah. It is effective. You've got your MVP candidate that's like, he's an Iron Man in a lot of ways right now. Jalen Williams is an elite second scorer. Chet Holmgren is an elite third scorer and somebody that's an elite defender already as a rookie. Like this is... Yeah. This is one of those things where they don't have to add too much in order to really make some noise. It's a lot of it's going to probably come down to experience. And I think a lot of it is why, hey, some people externally in the national markets are less concerned about OKC from a championship contention standpoint because they haven't gone through the bumps and bruises yet that you deal with in a playoff series. Just what can you speak to on that particular thought?
I think that's a reasonable that's reasonable. I mean, even with the all world level of talent that OKC assembled in the first Big Three era, like it took them a couple of years of getting their noses bloody before they actually made real noise, and then they went to the championship,
Sure.
and then everyone got
Yeah.
injured and they never made it back.
It's
But
well, I mean, yeah, that's tough scene for sure. Really, really stressful. But like, it's never easy, and especially in a Western Conference where right now Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets
yeah,
are sort of like seen as the kings of the conference at this point. That they're not really going anywhere right now. So it's like maybe that's a matchup that you can't get through. But we've already seen those teams, and because I cover the Nuggets and I'm very close to that situation. You've already seen that matchup play out several times here. And OKC gives Denver some problems. There are reasons to believe that OKC can seriously challenge Denver in a playoff series. I'm wondering, from your perspective, uh, it will probably not perfectly translate because there are some things that Denver can do in a playoff series, tightening up their rotation that's a little bit better. But also, like, OKC's not far enough, not that far away. What do they need to get over Denver specifically?
I think Denver specifically, I'd like to, and I think this is a general thing. I think OKC needs at least one like big, um, just
Sure.
not to start next to Chet, but at least to have a guy off the bench that you can say, hey, at least soak 10 or 15 minutes. If we're getting killed on the boards, we'll get you out there, like that sort of thing. Because the rebounding is a serious issue. It is the one fly in the ointment for this team right now, and has hurt them badly in the games that they've lost. That would be the thing, because Denver is just a big team across the board. They are a big
Right.
team. So in the playoffs, when pace slows down, things start grinding out. Each possession matters more. That's something that I think would hurt the Thunder significantly. So I think they would. I think the one thing that I would want in that matchup is a bigger guy that you can just say, soak some minutes off Jokic, keep Holmgren fresh. Uh, you know,
It does absolutely feel like a matchup versus Nikola Jokic. Like, Chet would be
yeah,
very fatigued by the end of something like that, and there's like the actual pressure of facing him and battling and bouncing off of him the entire time would probably wear him down, and he'd probably be less effective by the end of a series like that than he would be at the beginning. So it's a completely fair point, and to your point about the rebounding. 28th in offensive rebounding percentage, 29th
yeah.
in defensive rebounding percentage. Both sides of that are just bad. Now, the effective field goal percentage, which is something I actually posted about earlier today, like OKC's top three in both categories on offense and defense, and that's generally an indication for a championship contender. And so, like, these are small things that we're talking about here, where these are detail matchups, but like, you get to kind of play that game when you've already established your foundation in your core. And clearly, the core has
Yeah.
been established with SGA, Chet, J Dub, and Lou Dort in a lot of ways. Outside of those four, I'm going to list off the next six guys in terms of minutes per game here, really. Josh Giddey, Kaysen Wallace, Isaiah Joe, Kenrich Williams, Aaron Wiggins, Vasa Micic. I actually don't know if Vasa is there, but we're going to include him in this conversation because he's been playing really well lately. Can you rank those guys in terms of your playoff trust? Because if you have four in terms of your top four, that's great, but there are going to be a couple of different needs for a couple of different skill sets there. So which of those guys do you most trust? Let's give me your top three.
Can you run back through that list again? I was listening, but I didn't get them all.
Yeah, so you've got Josh Giddey, Kaysen Wallace, Isaiah Joe, Kenrich Williams, Aaron Wiggins, and Vasa Micic.
All right. In terms of playoff, who I trust the most, I think I'd go Kenrich Williams first. Um,
Okay.
Isaiah Joe, and I think Giddy be on that list. The one, I don't know. It's either I don't know, because the other issue that's surfaced is there have been times that Giddey has been targeted defensively, and the Thunder haven't been able to do a ton about it. And I'd be worried about that in a playoff situation.
Sure.
Because he is a little slow-footed. That would be the one that I'd worry about. I mean, and if that, I might swap him out for Wiggins, because Wiggins has been, yeah, he's been great.
He's been great.
He's one of those guys.
The efficiency numbers with him are crazy. Like he's shooting like what 60% from the field and 55 from three.
He's never going to be a guy that like everyone knows his name, but he's going to have a 10-15 year career. You know, like he's going to be one of those guys that like wherever he's at, everyone loves him because he comes in, he gets stuff done. Kenrich Williams is another guy like that. Kenrich was a sneaky. It was like quietly a problem that he was missing in the early part of the season because he's just one of those guys. What's that like the tape stuff? You remember the infomercial where the guy would like he had it and he'd like slap it on the flex tape.
Flex tape.
Kenrich Williams is lineup flex tape. You know, you just slap him on the leak and everything's fixed.
I need to see that meme. I need to see somebody post that with
I'll do it for you after this. I'll do it for you after this. Tape.
Perfect. That's amazing because it really is true. He's a trust guy. You can put him into any role basically. He's been playing a lot of small ball five
and he's holding up.
So, like that's as one does, you know, as one does. So no, it's been really impressive, and I think OKC's going to go places, man. Like I know everybody. If you have to choose teams to play at the top of the West, like OKC's probably more desirable for other teams to play than a team like Denver, than a team like maybe even the Clippers, just because of like they've been around the block a little bit more. But like, they're really good. it's crazy to see, and like maybe Minnesota's the team that people want to catch because of their lack of playoff offense, but. I'm really curious, man. This is going to be very fascinating. Any final thoughts on OKC?
I think the All-Star break's going to do a lot for them. The last month or so has been unbelievably brutal schedule-wise. Like, I think I saw a stat, they had, like, more back-to-backs, and, like, the amount of games that they have crammed into this last amount of time is, like, one of the highest in the NBA for the season. They're really struggling right now. You can tell guys are tired. So that I think once we get to All-Star break and guys can get a little rest under their belts, just have a little bit of a reset. And I think Sam Presti will do something at the deadline. Maybe not big, but he's not stupid. He's watching the team like all of us, and he sees, what the needs are. So, yeah, I think there'll be a little bit of tinkering, a little bit of rest, and this team's going to go places. So.
Andre Drummond, come on down, baby.
I don't know if he's. Yeah, that's a longer discussion, but I don't think he's that guy. Maybe, I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah, not that guy, pal. I understand. I mean, he's gone through the ringer, but there are other guys that they could go get, and like I do think that if they do add a backup center, somebody who can be sort of that release valve for Chet Holmgren in a lot of ways, maybe play both of them at the same time. Then there is a real case that this team makes a way deeper playoff run than people expect. So it's going to be fun, man. I'm looking forward to it. He is David Brandon of Daily Thunder. Make sure to go check out all of his OKC coverage. Really appreciate you stopping by, David.